Every night can become special because night itself is just the time when the sun's light doesn't fall on the tormented, scorched earth. It's at night when no one sees or hears, far from people by a campfire, that you can hear legends, stories, or grim prophecies brought by pilgrims from other worlds and realities. Right here and now, by this very fire, in the dead of night, a story will be told, one that unites several fates into a single tale. Did it really happen? Was it in this world or another? Did it even happen at all? Or perhaps the bored mind of a pilgrim invented it on his journey to later tell it to you, so you would be generous and let him by the fire. Anything is possible, but nevertheless, the words have already been cast into the air. The night is a witness, and that means the flywheel of history is already turning. The night is full of horrors and fears in this recently forgotten land. For a long time now, there has been no peace here for the living or the dead. Frightening statues, crosses, and entrances to crypts leave no heart indifferent, no matter whose chest it beats in. The moon illuminates everything perfectly. Horrible, massive shadows stretch towards the one sitting on the ground, staring straight into the hopeless darkness. It did not seek to lift the veil of mystery, but the general motives were clear. I must remember everything. I must try to understand what's wrong and why there's this excruciating pain, this numbness. As if unleashed, I screamed an inhuman cry, fell, and curled into a fetal position. A dreadful torment enveloped me, and in that terrible moment, I remembered everything. I remembered what made me come here, to these lands, why I am here, why these lands are feared, and people try not to even think about them.
These are the Unquiet Lands. That's what they were called. Here you just can't tell. Are you completely dead, or just halfway there for now? Yes, here in these parts, people ask such questions. Cemeteries, crypts, rich, poor, a big shot and a fool, they all lie here, in this earth, in stone sarcophagi beneath it. Yes, when the cities around were alive and warm blood still flowed in the veins of their inhabitants, squads of purifiers would come here. They would descend into the crypts and kill all the undead who dared not to sleep the sleep of the dead. It is for this reason that there are both crypts and common graves here. The dead often escaped from wooden coffins, not wanting to be dead, and would even kill the burial party. When business picked up, they began to make statues of protector gods, which were installed in this cemetery. Though, do we have the right to call this a cemetery? This is a necropolis.
It's wrong, probably even criminal, to speak of the endless graves, crosses, crypts, huge underground catacombs where a sealed corpse lies in every cell. No, this is a necropolis. Even the minds of ordinary people called it the Unquiet Lands. For you couldn't even imagine the scale of these burials. And if only it ended there. Around the necropolis, like vultures, the workshops of stonemasons grew, working day and night to create protective statues, multi-kilogram slabs for coffins, so the undead couldn't move them. Day and night they carved protective words on the stone, different words: effective and ineffective, necessary and useless. Overall, just like with the statues. The presence of some statues in the cemetery was staggering. Statues of death, Charon, angels of all sizes and shapes, and creatures as if from nightmares. The stonemasons did important work. They built the necropolis. And then, when the populations of 4 cities and countless villages and hamlets became their clients, a disease, as if by design, took those who built this cemetery to the necropolis as well.
Grown fat on the grief of others, they died themselves, unable to enjoy the riches they had earned from the already dead. And, as they say, the still living colleagues buried the stonemasons along with their gold. But gold and silver, all of it lost any meaning, because you are already sick, and there's no point in running.
The necropolis will not let you go. Of course, the stone slabs kept the dead inside, but many of them also walked the earth. Only their team of purifiers perished. They walked, clanking their armor even in death, but sending the living to the next world. Occultists of various currents and directions were inhabitants of the necropolis, reaping the benefits of death with varying success. Ghosts, undead, phantoms, dark gods, and madmen, with demons and devils walked here. They walked day and night. In the necropolis, due to the power of the dead spells, even the sun on the brightest day shines like evening twilight. It is a terrible place, surrounded by numerous stone processing enterprises, houses of craftsmen standing silent for years. People long ago left this land, far, far to the east, away from diseases and such neighbors. For in the unquiet lands, there are no people you can trust with anything. But even here, in the dead cities, villages, and hamlets, its own terrible and bizarre life goes on. For the lepers, the madmen, the outcasts, and those same cultists who were driven from everywhere, and just gangs of bandits gladly occupied the living spaces. The cities, one might say, stand dead. The pain was receding. The dull moaning with bloody foam ended, and I allowed myself to turn around, slowly and carefully. And then, hissing like an asp, I slowly rose. "No skin," I whispered, understanding the problem. From my head down to the middle of my chest, I had no skin, flayed and aching, and if not for my spells and charms, I would have been torn to pieces right here. Memory began to kindly pull out what had happened. I came here at night, led by pride. I wanted to know, to appeal to the force that lives down here and exudes its threads of evil. I wanted to hear answers to my questions, but all I got was a burst of power, as cold as a slab of meat cooling on the stone floor of a crypt. Even though I survived, it tried to kill me. I had appealed to this ancient evil, but it was so indifferent to me that it merely swatted me away. Just a sliver of its power hit me, and for 10 meters around me, there was nothing. Scorched earth, shattered slabs, and the ground itself was burned 3 meters deep. No one devoured or dragged me away, only because the necropolis itself was dealing with me, and no one dared to interfere in this conflict. Although, look there, creepy shadows are walking, cultists with lamps. In the distance, they've already carried past bound, living people, hastily setting them up in the crypts. Only my skin was torn off. The blow came from above. It stripped the skin, painful, insulting, but not fatal.
I took a black powder from the leather pouch on my belt and ate a handful, feeling my body respond as the flesh began to rapidly knit itself back together. But that didn't matter. I had almost no power left. Thinking I had fate by the beard, got the chance to rein in an ancient being while sitting here, and I paid dearly. The flesh will heal. Flesh is not difficult. The hard part is what I must try. I mentally called my two familiars and noted with horror that they were dead. The two creatures were torn apart so violently that their souls scattered. They can never be summoned again. Never. They are dead. Permanently. No familiars. Almost no power. I can't leave here quickly. I'll have to walk through this nightmare. While feeling the wounds closing, I picked up what had scattered from my meager backpack. The few things that were intact. 2 vials of potion for restoring physical and mental energy. Of course, I didn't postpone it, and drank it all at once, feeling the power slowly, drop by drop, returning. But to survive here and reach the edge, this is unforgivably little. And only through luck will I make it. I walked in the moonlight, skirting monuments, fences, crypt entrances, statues, the bodies of butchered people, slain ghouls and cultists. The necropolis began its dead song, composed of different voices, cries of pain, rage, the eerie muttering of demons whispering their world-poisoning curses, and the prayers of cultists. And from above, this choir was drenched in the ghastly sounds of the otherworldly. What's the most important thing in places like this? I feel vulnerable. As vulnerable as possible. But the best fight is the one that never happened. Therefore, I must hide my presence, and that's difficult. Imagine a crowd of people dressed in black. They go about their business, smelling of acrid rot, and you're dressed in green and smell of cinnamon. It's hard to hide your mental essence. You can spend power on it, but I didn't dare. I might need the power for defense. I had already seen a few ghouls peer predatorily from behind a statue. One of the statues, with a hole in its chest, spread its arms. Ghouls, though unpleasant, were just ghouls. But the statue! I was afraid of the statue in this situation. Yes, the hole in its chest is framed with blood and chunks of flesh stuck on its sharp edges. Something lives in that statue. It's hard to explain, but it wants to be alive, so it grabs the living and shoves them into its hole, which goes deep inside the 4-meter statue. And the hole in its chest is 40 centimeters at best. Cracking of bones. Terrible. When the statue takes a person, screaming in horror. And it doesn't care if it's a cultist or just a fool like me. As if this nightmare wasn't enough for me, the statue is almost silent, only vibrations through the ground. But here, the ground is constantly shaking, and you have to keep looking around. At the moment, I had only attracted its attention, and it was unclear if it would attack me. But I couldn't relax. I walked at a brisk pace. I am a sorcerer. I see where to go. I see the very dangerous places. So I bypassed some problems and, turning sharply around a corner, ran into a man. He was meditating with a blissful smile. A sorcerer? A madman? Who are you? I thought, walking past him. I wasn't going to ask for help and didn't want to attack. I have too little power for such things. I was walking past him when suddenly he began to raise his hand to summon his familiars. I snatched a bag from my belt and threw it at his head, and I literally felt a huge... I ran up to him and killed him with one blow to the head. He fell with a crushed skull, and I tossed aside the bloody piece of granite.
What did you expect? No one's going to fight you fair. Took the dagger from my belt and proceeded to, yes, like in the tales told around campfires, asking the spirits for answers. There, yes, they ate the heart, the liver, they ate everything. A sorcerer's power is in his heart. The body is just an accessory. The tongue will speak a word if needed. The eyes will show the material world. But the strongest of us can exist without even touching the ground with their feet, but soaring above it. And as for eyes, hearing, and the rest, those are just trifles. I opened his chest and began to eat, feeling the living power immediately flow into me, a power I could use right now. I ate, but I didn't forget to look around and listen. There was no one around me. Apparently, this guy had killed everyone. But that doesn't mean someone isn't sneaking up right now. After finishing his heart, I rummaged through his pockets. A one-shot amulet, I must admit, exquisitely made, and some sorcerous herbs and jars of ointments. Not to say a lot or a little, but enough to make existence in this place more comfortable. It's a good thing he couldn't cast spells, I mused aloud. Otherwise, this amulet could have reflected the attack back, and I would have killed myself. A pity it's a one-use item, but it's better to have a chance at life than not. And even better is that I prudently made myself that wonderful powder. This powder has many names: mutinous, dead tongue, revelation, whatever you want. The Inquisition invented it. You throw it at a sorcerer and that's it. The tongue swells and bubbles, the eyes leak out. The pain is so bad you can't even utter a spell. And if it's an ordinary person, he'll just grunt and walk on. It doesn't work on ordinary people. And in general, it's a dangerous little thing, but only until you get hit in the head. You have to hit the head or have it burst near the head. I even heard from here how the people dancing around the fire stabbed another, and a hideous creature was hiding behind a statue, choking with laughter. It was playing the role of a false god. When it gets bored, it will devour everyone, the cultists who trusted it and the victim. And who knows how long it will play with them. I froze and jumped back, rolled and pressed myself against a wall, falling silent. Something is here, or is coming, I thought, sparing no effort. Someone was coming, and that someone is no friend of ours. I used my few remaining powers just to hide in the shadow where I sat by the wall. I sat like that for about 3 minutes, heard the sound of plate armor and the clang of its steps. A fearsome knight, nearly 3 meters tall, with holy scriptures on his plate armor, came out and looked around. Suddenly, a statue attacked him from the left. With one blow, he shattered it, and a foul black ichor gushed into the sky. He kicked the remains of the statue, and it toppled over. He stood frozen, watching and listening, and after finding no one, he stomped forward, towards the place from which the power emanated. The question of who it was irrelevant. I don't know, and I don't want to know. I clearly have no friends here. All right, I have to get up and get out of here. The edge may not be far, but it's not close either. The periphery isn't the most dangerous place. Even when I first arrived, I was afraid to go to the center or even near the middle, so I modestly sat on the edge and began. In the center, it's probably a nightmare. And underground, in the catacombs, I've heard that the dead are digging tunnels, connecting the crypts, uniting them into something like a
common network. I don't know if it's true. In my lands, and they are far from here, there's nothing even close to this. With us, any manifestation of magic is punishable by law, which is generally correct. But sometimes it goes to extremes, and here, sorcery, even in broad daylight. Neither the Inquisition nor anyone else can handle it. This place is a cursed nightmare, a festering sore on the body of the earth. But the earth's problems remain its problems. I'll have to think of something, because all my dreams and plans have collapsed like a house of cards. My presence here is not meaningless. The point was to speak with the entity that rules here. A little. I needed power. To cross to another continent. One so far away that no ship has yet managed to return. I've read about those places across the ocean, heard from the dead who managed to visit there in death, and I really want to go there. To a place where my craft is not forbidden, but serves the greater good. To a place of joy and fun, where everyone lives and enjoys life. To a place where there are no diseases, and one can live without fear of persecution. Right there. But that continent is so distant and so hard to reach that it requires great power. And I, and few others, have such a thing. I could save up for 100,000 years and it might not be enough. So I need something or someone who can help with this issue. I mused, walking quickly past the eerie statues. Life here deteriorates greatly. Diseases pop up every day. Every day I hear about something new. The shadows are gathering. Horrible entities have already extended their paws and are ready to drag us into the abyss. So I need to move. The beginning of something terrible is coming. Not now, later, but it's already close. So the plan is this: get out of here now. Go to the nearest house with people, sacrifice them in exchange for power, and then transport myself to the nearest major city. I don't have the patience to wait until I've rested. I was pulled from my thoughts by a man who appeared 3 meters ahead of me. He emerged, and I saw his disfigured face. Fangs had grown. Horns were sprouting. In a word, possessed. He rushed at me, intending to devour me and hasten his transformation process. But I held out my hand. He froze, as if impaled on a spear. With a flick of my wrist, I sent him sharply into the air and watched as he silently began to fall back, impaling himself on the fence of stone stakes surrounding the entrance to a crypt. There was incomprehension on the creature's face as to what had happened. I didn't watch any further. It was clear to me that he would never get off those stakes. I walked out into a valley, bathed in moonlight. In the distance, a forest spread out like a black stain. Very far away, the snow-capped mountains looked particularly mysterious and beautiful in the moonlight. I wouldn't be surprised if right now hundreds of eyes are also observing their silent beauty. All right, no self-pity. Pity is a flaw of the weak. For the pathetic, one is not he who is pitied, but he who pities. So, no self-love, only restrained emotions. And now, we need to work a little. I've done this hundreds and thousands of times. It was easy and simple, just like breathing. But now, even though my body had healed, covered in new pink skin, even though I had more or less made it out to the valley without incident, where there was no one and no one was attacking, I was very tired mentally. The creepy statues, the screams, the constant concentration, sometimes having to throw power into the space just to make smaller creatures not even think about it, to make them understand that I am stronger. The failed attempt to talk, the frustration over my dead familiars, all of it drained me mentally. I didn't want to cast spells. I didn't even want to stand. And the valley was deceiving me, promising peace, tranquility, and sleep on the clean green grass. But one shouldn't be fooled. These lands are called the Unquiet. Everything here is a lie. I focused. My body lifted off the ground, and I opened my eyes. This won't last long, I reasoned, and, hovering above the ground, rushed forward.
Where it takes a horseman a week and a walker 3, a sorcerer with this method of travel takes 2 hours. The speed was amazing, but still. The main method of travel was considered portals. Yes, costly in power, but the time savings are phenomenal. And here, okay, I need to concentrate. If I lose concentration, I'll fall and break my bones, and I'll hardly recover. I have no familiars to guard and heal me. And a couple of times I think I saw something hiding in the deadly pleasant and deceptive grass.
The flight was long. I'd already flown over the valley and coming out onto a plateau as flat as a plate, I saw a dead village. And I would have flown on but for a light in a window. I stopped my flight at the edge of the village and, just begging myself to concentrate and squeeze out the last of my strength, looked for a catch. There was no catch. It was truly a dead village. But for some, it was a creepy, scary, and dead place on the border of the Unquiet Lands, and for others, a hearty, juicy, and meaty place in terms of desires and fantasies. The house with the lighted windows reeked of blood, and one person lived there. He was alone now, though recently there had been 2. He had killed his guest very recently. His soul is hardly whiter than mine, but while I kill for my goals without pleasure, he tortured and received the highest ecstasy, and only then did he kill. I dare not judge him for it, I thought. Everyone chooses how to live. The main thing is not to let him kill me first, and to play the fool. That way he'll let me in, and then I'll get him. A fat, well-fed dog. Well, of course, after eating so much human flesh. It's not a dog, but a man-eater. A young face, freckled and with red hair, pressed against the window, watching me intently. "Hey, master," I shouted. "A traveler at your doorstep." He gestured with his hand, as if to say, "Come in." Feeling no traps, I went to the threshold. "Oh my," the red-haired serpent said with theatrical affectation, opening the door for me. "A traveler? What the hell are you doing here on the edge of the Unquiet Lands? Please, come in. Let's go to the fire. Are you alone, or is there someone else? Tell me about yourself," the host went on. "Let's go to the kitchen. I'm celebrating today. Meat and lentil stew with onions. Haven't had one like this in a long time." Of course, he was afraid. He didn't know who I was, but he was ready. The house was full of weapons, axes, swords, daggers, vials of poison, crossbows, and arrows. All of it was there, and he even had a knife in his belt. Only my friendly shout that I was a traveler and my plea for shelter prevented him from killing me immediately. Plus, he feared I might not be alone. He probably doesn't think I'm a sorcerer or someone else. Usually, such people, if they come in, they kick the door down and don't talk at all. And again, if you think about it, why the hell would anyone trudge all the way out here? This is no place for sorcerers, nor for demons. Everyone is in the Unquiet Lands. I'm just unlucky and out of power. "Sit down. I'll treat you to a delicious dinner," he said, placing a bowl in front of me and a spoon. But then something began. On the spoon, I sensed a paralytic poison. A few sips of this brew, and that's it. I'd be caught. "You are so kind. I've been walking for so long and haven't seen anyone. I was attacked by bandits, robbed, but I survived. And who are you?" "I am a pilgrim. I carry the word through the Unquiet Lands to the city of Blameitonjorge. We have plenty of gods now, both dark and light, and a dozen new ones every day. So I won't pretend I know or have heard of it. And again, this is the kind of place where you don't trust every word. Behind every word could be a wolf in sheep's clothing." That's true. But I think there is still something human in people. "Please, eat. You must be tired from the road. The space here is vast and there are almost no people, just the dead and abandoned houses. You know, sometimes I go into them, the abandoned ones in the city. You know, it's very scary because you imagine yourself as a tiny bug against the backdrop of it all. But you, as a pilgrim, must understand me, right?" "Right, I understand. As for the food, my stomach is weak. I can't eat it piping hot. I need to wait a bit," I replied, gathering my last strength into a fist. "You better tell me what forced you to live here, in this place. It's not safe from any day's journey around, and in the valley it's a complete nightmare to live. I used to be a craftsman. I made fences for that very necropolis. I sent out tens of kilometers of fences every month, carved with protective signs and so on. I did it with my father, but my father died, and I moved here. It's too scary to live so close. I wanted to be near the mountain at first, where they quarry stone, but it's not quiet there either. So I left the valley and live here little by little. With a past like that, the road to any city is closed." "It's time," I thought, clenching my fist under the table. But instead of a result, I heard a terrible sound. In a chest there were protective talismans, and they all shattered at once. "No magic!" The host drew a knife, about to lunge at me. I grabbed the stew, which was hot as boiling water, and threw it in his face. He screamed, scalded, clutching his face, and then I flipped the table on him and kicked him in the jaw. When he lost consciousness, I took his spoon with the poison and stuck it in his mouth. Let him lie there and think about his behavior. A stonemason, some joker. Where are your stones, sonny? Where do you buy your food, huh? I muttered angrily, drawing a circle with symbols on the floor. A stonemason. Well then, I'm the good auntie. Make a wish. I know who you are. You're a murderer and a marauder. You catch people, drag them here, do whatever you want, and kill them. Who's going to look for them here? It's scary to even talk about these parts, let alone search. And then you cook them in a stew and treat travelers who were hopeful. Because you have a deal with the necropolis. The creatures from there don't touch you, and you do a thing or two for them in return. What did you expect? You think I'm a complete idiot? He lives here. You're an outcast. You won't be accepted anywhere, so you live here. And you don't need to go anywhere. You like living like this. I dragged the conscious host into the circle. From his wildly rolling eyes, I understood he was against such ceremonies. Well, how does it feel to be the victim? How many times did they beg you to let them live, right? He couldn't even nod. The spoon with the paralytic poison wouldn't let him. But it's good that you came to so quickly. You know, when you trade people for power, they need to be conscious. So lie still for a while. I'll take care of you. It wasn't difficult, even routine. I spoke the words. The paralyzed man twitched. The floor beneath him disappeared, and a dark puddle formed, which swallowed him, and streams of power shot into me. There was a lot of it, powerful, but unfortunately, not for long. Well, that's it. Thank you, Master, for the shelter, for the bread you didn't give, for the human flesh I don't eat, and for the power for which I traded you.
A fine supper. They paid me well for you. To be honest, I don't get any pleasure from the suffering of others or their torment, so I even like that the ritual didn't involve any bloody manipulations. And as for Belovedy, I mused, getting up and sitting down at the table. Belovedy is a tyrant city. That's what I'd call it. A city where, if you're not lucky enough to be a merchant or at least a craftsman, or even at worst a servant, your song is sung. On one side, you're oppressed by the emptiness, the nightmares that crawl from the unquiet lands. On the other side, you're pressed by the great ocean, on whose whims your life depends. And from the third side, the city is squeezed by the Merchants Guild, which is bending over backward to get its hands on this spot. Because Belovedy is not just a strategic location, it's the last major city in the south, with access to raw materials, a favorable climate, and zero competition. Don't like slaving away at the factory? Fine. Get lost wherever you want. But where will you go? To the Unquiet Lands, where you'll be torn to pieces? Or will you swim into the ocean, where the abyss will swallow you? Or maybe you're crazy and will dash to the Merchants Guild, but they won't take you. You don't know anything important or interesting. They'll give you the boot too, and at best, offer you to slave away not for 12 hours on the land or at the factory, but for 11, for example. So the choice for a common man there is between a rope and an axe. But I am not common, and this town has long been my goal for a long time. And not just mine. Many went there in search of power. Neither the elements, nor the guild, nor the Unquiet Lands, no matter how they tried, could overcome this city. It always, at the critical moment, repelled disaster. And despite the local princeling, who many think is lucky, but in reality, he's not. He is a vile, stinking worm. A dead donkey has more honor than his fat carcass. This beast hates everyone and everything. He is ready to pour slop on all that is bright, but he is not a fool. He rules cruelly, harshly, and you can't even open your mouth there. But when it comes to something lively, a newcomer can haggle with them, trade, and do whatever they want. But you cannot kill or maim a guard. Even a guild merchant can be hanged. A common man who lives out his days is given a house, one horse, and a plot of land. In a word, a wise and greedy man rules there, and far from stupid. And what many consider luck is nothing more than magic. Somewhere in the depths, deep inside, there is an object that prevents this whole mess from falling apart. If I got my hands on such an object, I would definitely be able to cross to the other continent, and neither storms nor even hardships would be an obstacle for me.
Of course, sorcerers are not welcome there. If they find out, they'll send you to warm up on a pyre. But in Blameitonjorge, I've heard, there are 2 dark paths, and they can lead you there. So I will definitely get there. I'll sit around, gather rumors and gossip in the local taverns. I'll tell everyone I'm a traveler, because my appearance, well, I look less like a worker than anything else. Early morning, 4 a.m., the beginning of another nightmare.
Although, can I say that?
I am Svetlozar, the son of a simple peasant who came to serve at the court. I can't, I thought, sitting at the table and looking out the tiny window. I was lucky, so many would say. Freedom, the ability to walk around the city without justifying myself to everyone and explaining nothing. I would rather slave away from morning till late at night, and then, sobbing into my pillow, beg the darkest gods to let me die in my sleep, and for this nightmare to end. To be a peasant in Blameitonjorge, they say, is honorable. But that's what those who have never lived or been here say. I took a sip of very weak tea, sinking into thoughts of my former life. 4 a.m. That's how everyone lives, all the common folk. They get up at 4. No one will check on you, no one will punish you if you sleep till noon. You just won't get anything done, and you might get beaten by tax collectors or executed. Morning. Early rise, taking out and feeding the livestock, milking. Then you come home, breakfast, and a 30-minute rest. Then out to the fields. The climate is warm, the land is good, but it's not yours. You get the minimum from this land. The rest you give to the city. It will then sell it. Everyone is happy that you have a horse, saying not everyone has one, but here they give you one. Only a madman could say that. A horse is good, of course, but if something happens to it, then the same will happen to you. You are cheaper than a horse. You are problematic, and a horse is not, and more useful. They gave it to you to increase your productivity, not because they love you. They can also bring a cow and say, take it into your care. But at noon you have to hand over almost all the milk you've collected to the collectors. And the responsibility for the cow is colossal. As for any property, being a child is a little easier, but not much. You also work in the fields, you cultivate the land. There is no time for boredom in life here. You are constantly busy with something. Of course, every day there are those rare hours when you are free to do something for yourself, or nothing at all, very few. In Blameitonjorge, there is a very harsh system of punishment and taxes. There are pluses, of course, but overall, your life is cheaper than the livestock you serve. Yes, that's right. You just serve the land and the animals, not the other way around. Early morning, fog and gloom, twilight. We are standing in a tiny courtyard where they inspect us, give us morning orders, and in general, this was the most unpleasant time. Usually in the morning they decided if you were even worthy of living here. And the one who decided was a servant, just like us, only he was the oldest, and even the prince himself might listen to his opinion. For who was the most knowledgeable in matters of daily life? Right, it was him. And if he didn't like something, then you would most likely be executed. He could slander you, and there would be no problems. And your work would be easier and simpler, and various other joys would be added to your life. But if you turned up your nose, like me, "That's Svetlozar, I am Svetlozar, what's with the disgruntled face?" You serve the prince, but you act as if you're in your own stupid village.
I am happy. Yeah, but I don't see it. Smile! Come on, wider! I didn't smile. Ah, you rotten scum! You don't want to smile? You want to go to the stables? There's so much work there you won't clear out the manure for the rest of your life. Do you want that? As you wish. I've been going there for a week already. Ratibor stepped back, looked at us, then at me. You all saw that, right? The sycophants nodded in unison. Well then, the stables are yours today, yours tomorrow, and they are yours for the whole next month. And by the way, why is your shirt torn? Where? Ratibor came over, yanked the collar, and the fabric tore, making a hole. What a village idiot! There's a hole, and he doesn't even see it! Everyone laughed. You get no lunch for talking back. Now go, and hope I don't say anything to the prince. Tell the prince and you'll croak, I blurted out, and everyone fell silent.
Say that again!
You'll croak, I began, starting to move towards him. I was big, much bigger than this short dwarf. Shuffling, he covered his reddening face, and I had already raised my fist. Realizing he was really going to die, he screamed in fright,
Damn! A riot!
They rushed me in a mob, and I was already bolting. First into the stone corridors, and then, running through the prince's estate, I burst out through the gates and ran towards certain death, out of the city. Because outside the city, nothing awaited me. Maybe I really am a psycho and a scoundrel, maybe, but I just can't take it anymore. The disrespect from him. I can't live like this. I wasn't afraid of work or labor, but the atmosphere in which we lived was sick. Everyone snitched on each other. Everyone slandered, even Ratibor, saying he didn't respect his masters and all that. Today's incident could hardly even be called bullying. He could spend 40 minutes telling you who you really are. That if you don't admit it, things will be bad. And it wasn't enough for him to humiliate you. He needed you to admire him. He insults you, you admire him. That's what he wanted. And he could also ruin your work. You could spend all day carrying or loading something, and he could come up, scatter everything, and say it was all your fault. Why? Because he felt like it, that's all. Because he could. Though I've only been here a short time, unlike most, I didn't want to tolerate all this. I want justice. I want us to live normally. For people like him to be hanged next to criminals. As for me, I turned around and looked at the city. I am an outlaw. I can still walk around for now, but that's it. The guards will catch me and send me first for an explanation, and then they'll execute me. The conversation there is short. On the farm you can turn your nose up at some work. There you don't dare open your mouth at all. All you have to do is be happy and thank everyone for being allowed to even be here, even if those who allowed it spit in your face. Of course, this didn't just happen today or even a year ago. I've been thinking for a long time about trading my plow for a sword or an axe. They won't take me as a guard, but I could become a bandit. After all, bandits are former people, and common folk will always find a way to agree and pass a message. So in our village, there were dark paths that many didn't like, and because of which everyone was at risk. But everyone also understood, if not you, then maybe your children will walk it if they stumble in life. And so, a bandit son is better than a dead son. He would come to visit us, to ask for something to eat. All lean and wiry, he never came empty-handed. He would bring us money, and for a while we lived oh so well on it. In the forest, they had no need for money, but they split it among themselves. They didn't take it to cities. There were no proper markets. And so, he would tell us how it all worked.
amazing stories of their journeys, how they lived, how the nights passed, what kind of horror sometimes came from the restless land, and how to hide properly so you wouldn't be found. My brothers, sisters, and I would listen to him, and we couldn't believe that another life even existed. A life where everyone treats you as an equal. A life with no "you must" or "you have to." No one tells you, "Shut up, give it here, why weren't you faster?" Of course, we weren't complete idiots. We understood you shouldn't talk about guests like that. Even if everyone knows and every family has a relative like him, you just don't run your mouth.
I would lie in bed for a long time at night, thinking that one day I would become a bandit. I might walk in the shadow of death, but at least I'd be alive. That idea was always with me. I knew, subconsciously, that I would go beyond the wall. I knew it even though I tried to tell myself and others that there was no work sweeter for me than tilling the land. But I knew that one day I would leave. And then it happened. Since my uncle came a couple of times a month, I managed to speak with him in secret. He explained how to go, who to look for, and what to say. He even explained where there was a passage in the wall, but urged me not to use it, to go through the main gates if possible. Everyone was happy about these conversations. Everyone except for my father, of course, who wanted me to be a farmer. He hated bandits. They weren't even buried, but burned like some kind of mold, their ashes scattered in the fields.
There's a road in the forest beyond the wall, my uncle told me. Find it and follow it. The road will lead you to a tavern. It's a gray zone of sorts. Anyone who enters it or is near it is considered one of their own, either a traveler or a pilgrim who has no need to be hostile. There's free trade. You can rent a room and more, buy some foamy mead, and just sit around gathering gossip. The tavern owner is a respected man, untouched by either side for his own reasons. You need to go to him and say, 2 barrels of mead and a bed for 2 nights. Then give your name and the name of the one who sent you. He'll understand everything and explain. Well, all that's left is to find the road to the tavern, I thought as I entered the forest. Turning back one last time, I glanced at the high wall, knowing the life behind it was no longer for me. The arrow slid smoothly and pinned the last man sitting by the fire. Perfect. Only a total psycho would risk lighting a fire in a place like this. It's dangerous even in broad daylight, let alone at night. I moved closer. Sometimes I hear the terrible howls of different creatures born from nightmare and madness. When the dead are restless, the living find no peace. Agreed. I pulled the arrow from the man's eye, wiped it on his clothes, and began to search the pockets of the 3 men, playing a little game with myself. After the incident and what you could call my second birth, I noticed something new about myself. I'd become more cautious, careful, and observant. And even when killing enemies, and almost everyone was an enemy to me, as I gathered their things and looked them over, I would think about the lives they had lived, why they were here, what might have driven them. Why were 3 men sitting in the open, not even near the forest,
burning a fire that could attract trouble. Well, it did attract trouble. Me. I poured the coins into my own pocket.
Your purses are thin, boys. Clearly not merchants and definitely not travelers. Generally, I considered killing a traveler or pilgrim to be a bad omen. And as a rule, those people aren't dangerous. They're just going somewhere and wish no one harm. In some ways, we are alike. But these guys... I dragged them into a pile and inspected them. Bandits. Definitely bandits with no brains. The trade route runs right over there. They were probably sitting here like idiots, watching to see if a caravan was coming. Well, you guys are lucky it was me who found you. If it had been someone else, death might have been a gift, if it were even possible. You'd be wandering like lost souls. And then, stop! I stomped out the fire. I'll crawl on just to not be a sitting duck. This valley has to end sometime. How much longer can I run? It's making me sick. Though, it looks like there's a city over there. What's it called? Blameitonjorge. Damn it. It's leading me there. Recently, I had found something more than just life, a purpose. Just 3 weeks ago, I couldn't have imagined that an ordinary warrior, the simplest kind, could obtain what is only spoken of in whispers. Our region is famous for its swamps, forests, and fields, and also, strangely enough, for its hunger. A hungry land, of a sort. Nothing grows properly here except for trees and grass, as if it were cursed. And some people truly believed that was the case.
The wheat is gone? It's obvious. Sorcerers. Some blamed the bogs. It was terrifying to walk through the swamps. Strange people lived there, and how they lived, we couldn't understand. In my case, I didn't really want to understand. And again, what were swamp creatures to me? We were at war with the neighboring city, so I had no time for swamps at all.
To be honest, I was a seasoned warrior. I had fought in many battles, was skilled in my craft, and was respected because I was never afraid, though I never charged in first. And as it happened, I outlived everyone else, even though there were many chances to die. For about 4 months now, I had been assigned to a group stationed right by the swamps, near an abandoned village, supposedly abandoned. Our task was to occasionally enter the village and kill everyone there. And there were the possessed, cultists, robbers, criminals, scoundrels, sorcerers. Everyone the devil himself could gather was there. The village was large, 250 households with all their outbuildings. And of course, no raid was ever peaceful. Either swamp creatures would start howling and we'd have to go cut down that filth, or wolf packs would attack as if on command, or wild beasts, or swarms of mosquitoes, or the food would spoil. There was no peace in anything. But it didn't scare me much. I'm an experienced man. If I have a spear or a halberd in my hands, I'll solve all the problems myself, or at least an axe. And there were many like me. And one day, about 2 weeks ago, reinforcements arrived. Not in the form of food, but in the form of help. 320 men. And with them came an order. The source of the trouble had been found. The reason why everything was dying and not growing where it should. The root of all evil. And so we went. A 2-day march on foot, everyone grim and unhappy. No one bothered us. Who would dare touch such a host? And then, bam, it started. We came to a small place, 3 streets and 17 yards. An altar in the center. Cultists sacrificing someone and worshiping something. We thought, well, there are 50 of them at most. We'll cut them down and be done with it. Not a chance. There were over 100. And although there were more of us, and we were experienced, it turned out that quantity could indeed defeat quality. Then again, we were seasoned, skilled men. But that doesn't matter. It so happened that I was in the front ranks fighting one of them. He was as nimble as a hare. I'd just swing and he'd vanish, already circling around me. I cut him down, but I myself took a terrible wound, a mortal one. A rotten dagger, its blade eaten away by rust, was plunged into my stomach, right under my chest. With wounds like that, you don't just not walk, you simply don't live. I fell, lying there, dying. And it seemed I had even died. I woke up from the cold and from the feeling of someone rummaging through my guts. I'm lying there thinking, here I was, fighting nightmares half my life, and now I've become a ghoul myself. I open my eyes and see a creature that looks like a dog with hands, sewing up my belly and putting my intestines back in. And I'm calm. What's there to be afraid of when you're already dead? Awake? It asked, poking me with a rusty needle. Yep. Lie still. Don't get up. I'll finish sewing, then you can get up. For now, just lie there. So, I lie there. It goes about its business, talking. So, how does it feel to be abandoned? I don't know. I would have done the same. You don't drag a corpse through a swamp. They did the right thing. They would have picked me up on the way back and buried me. They wouldn't have, the creature replied. They are all dead. And unlike you, they won't be getting up. I found it funny. What are you laughing at? This is your first time. You should be scared, but you're as calm as if I've known you for 100 years. What's there for me to worry about? I died, it happens, but I didn't raise you for nothing. I need you. See that altar standing there and my dead followers next to it? I see them. I even killed one. I know, that's why I chose you. Also for a number of your qualities. You serve me now and do as I say. You have nowhere else to go anyway. You can't enter normal cities, and disobeying me is also a problem. I can just stop sustaining the life in you. And what do you want? Blood? Flesh? I asked with a smirk. No, not that, it said, handing me a black stone. Hide this in your pocket and do not lose it. I'll communicate with you through it, and I can also appear to you. You have a very important task. You need to get to a forest located beyond the wall near Belavodya. There will be a tavern there. In 2 weeks, you need to be there, order some foamy mead, and wait at a table by the window. Everything will happen on its own, but you must understand one thing. Sit by the window all day. Do not go anywhere. When things kick off, support it. Understood? Don't take unnecessary risks. You will need to get the money and then depart on a ship. Which one? And to where? I'll tell you. I don't even know where that is. I'll show you. An image of how far away it was flashed through my mind. That's not 2 weeks. That's 4, maybe 5 years on foot. I can't make it. It's impossible, even if I run. I'm not suggesting you walk the whole way. I'll get you as far as I can, and from there, it'll be a week's journey. Even if you don't hurry and sleep till noon, you are my follower now, and I will give you the strength to carry out my will. This chipped stone, it doesn't belong here. It's from far away, and it only ended up here through sheer stupidity. You must deliver it, and a part of me, to my place of dwelling and true power. Understood? Understood. Good. And I will help you. A flash. And I was far away. I understood perfectly where I was and where I needed to go. My body had changed. I had become more agile, cunning, and strong. This terrible deity had truly given me strength, especially in crossing part of the valley. I ran easily and tirelessly, quickly and calmly. I even killed those 3 idiots with the ease of swatting a mosquito. But now I looked at the forest that stood before me, like a black giant. 2 barrels of mead. Go sit at a table for now. I'll come by later. It's dangerous right now. Go sit over there, at the table by the window. 2 men were sitting at the window table, one grimmer than the other. I took my beer and went over to them. "Hey, the owner said to join you," replied a pale fellow who looked more like a cultist. "Yeah, have a seat, kid," confirmed the one across from him, who looked more like a warrior. "So who might you be?" the warrior continued. And with an open heart and a light soul, I told them my situation. When I finished the story of my difficult fate and how I wasn't just some brute, but a man ready to end the injustice of a so-called city run by a swamp prince who can't stand anyone, in short, I said I was going to become a bandit. "So, you were with the prince?" the sorcerer asked. "Yes, at the court." "And you know everything?" "Well, not everything. I know the secret passages, but I don't know where they lead. Listen, I've seen all sorts of things. The dead, the lucky, you name it. But I swear, on all the coins I have, fate itself brought us together." "What are you talking about, sorcerer?" I asked, bewildered, taking a sip of the frothy drink. "Does it even matter? You wanted a serious job, right?" "Well," I hesitated. "I'll help you with your business. What did you want? To kill the entire staff and the prince? I'll help. I'm a man without many principles, and you'll show me where the secret passages are and where they lead. Deal?" I need to think." "What's there to think about?" the warrior grunted, spreading his hands. "I'll help you too. Whatever you need, I'll do it. I'm also interested, but my situation is simpler. I need money. A long journey awaits me, after all. In the lands where I'm headed, 1 gold coin is a week of comfortable living. I've been doing nothing but killing for about 12 years. Believe me, I'm better at it now. I alone am worth more than an entire company. I just don't know how I'll get my revenge, because I want it to." "Don't worry about the killing," the sorcerer interrupted. "I'll give you a potent potion. If you agree, I'll go outside right now and brew it. You won't just kill them, you'll slaughter them all. The main thing is to show me where the secret passage is. As for me, the treasury is enough. It's got to be in a chest somewhere. Trust me, I'll guide you so that not a single hair on your head is harmed. You just show the way and I'll do my part." "So?" the sorcerer whispered. "Do you agree?" "Well, maybe. Not maybe. Yes, I agree. I'm in this mess because of all this, so it's a definite yes." "Excellent. Trust me, I really am a sorcerer. I've killed so many people it's frightening to say. I'm capable of a great many things. So, since you've said yes, don't you dare try to deceive me. We'll pass through so that no one sees us. For secrets like these, I'll expend a lot of energy, so the matter of passage and silence is on me. And you're the dead warrior, I understand correctly?" "Not exactly dead. A servant of an ancient deity. At the moment, I'm here because he said so, and he told me to support you. But I'm interested in money, and I need a lot of it." "What a crew! A dead warrior, a sorcerer, and a servant who fled the court. All right, you keep an eye on our new friend for now. Someone's walking around The atmosphere is bad. I'll go prepare everything. I don't want to fight our way through. And why cause a commotion in someone else's city? Don't worry about our friend. No one will touch him. I guarantee it. And whoever tries will lose a hand. Commendable. Then wait for me. This will take quite a while, the sorcerer said, and disappeared into the night.
Someone in the tavern hit someone else. Amid the squabble, the place had filled up with rough-looking people. There's going to be a fight. There will be, but it doesn't concern us. This snake pit is for bandits. Normal people don't hang out in taverns at night. They're either asleep or leaving. What else can you expect at night in a tavern packed with all sorts of rabble and people in the mood you see? Some reached for knives, others for axes. A brawl erupted, and most of the patrons fixed their eyes on the fight, which was now turning deadly out on the street. "Damn you all!" the owner yelled, and the people supported his plea and began to file outside. 20 minutes later, only 5 men from the crowd that had left came back inside, all of them covered in blood.
So, did you break it up? The owner asked.
Quiet down! Don't yell! The last thing I need is a massacre in here. This is a free place, so take it outside. You don't settle scores in here.
We'll pay.
Of course you'll pay. Just try not to.
And what will happen? 4 men silently stood up from a distant table. These were, you could tell at a glance, professionals, burly with short axes, clad in chainmail.
Who's making trouble over there? Hey, no, I was just asking. Don't get wet.
The 4 of them dragged one man outside and came back in without him, handing his purse to the owner behind the bar. The man's friends, who could have helped, chose not to interfere. 3 of the guards went back to their seats, but one stopped in the center and said, "You can kill each other, that's not our business. We don't meddle in your affairs, and you don't interfere with ours. Pay for what you buy and there won't be any problems."
He said that and, for some reason, headed towards us.
"All right, you 2, where's the 3rd? Are you paying for him?" "We'll pay," the warrior said grimly. "You'll pay? Maybe you'll buy me a round too." "I will," the warrior replied without malice, holding out a silver coin. "Hey, what's this? Are my friends just supposed to watch?" He placed a single gold coin on the table. "Boys, we've got a real stand-up guy here. Come on over." 3 men, laughing, started to move towards us, and 3 minutes later, they were seated. "Well, what about you? Go get some beer. Your friend here is buying." They gave me 2 gold pieces, and the owner, having heard everything, had already prepared the beer and sausage. I couldn't believe that such a warrior, if he was a warrior, was reacting so calmly to everything. This was just robbery, and I thought it was about to get worse. I brought everything to the table. They didn't let me sit, telling me I could stand. So who's so generous today? A merchant? Doesn't look like one. Too damn big, and a serious face on him. "Who are you, man?" "A warrior," he answered with a smile. They laughed. "What, can't you see? He's a blessed warrior," one said, poking the other in the shoulder. "Really? Listen, what are you doing here? Do you even understand what's happening, or are you completely nuts?" "I understand," he answered just as calmly. "Listen, we were thinking, the beer and sausage are all well and good, but, you know, we need money too. Maybe you'll give it to us. I only have 1 silver left." "Come on, we're warriors. We don't lie to each other, right?" The man winked. "No, we don't. I really do only have 1 silver coin left. What you just drank up, by the way. I took off 3 dead bandits. They were on watch guarding the road. Killed them like mosquitoes. One poor guy even soiled his pants, couldn't figure out where it came from. This is their money, not mine.
Who is he? Those were Koresh's boys. Listen, Blessed One, you're not bullshitting us right now, are you? What, you really took out our guys? Drowned them like blind kittens in a bucket? Yes, they were there, and then they weren't. It got quiet. I stepped back, knowing what was coming, and it came. 5 seconds later, there were 5 people sitting at the table, but only one of them was alive. He had slit their throats before they could even draw a weapon. He simply grabbed a small knife from the table and stabbed them, giving them no time to understand. What are you standing there for? Get this pig off the chair and sit down. Drink the beer, eat the sausage, but it's dirty. So what? Is that a reason to refuse beer and meat? Sit down, I said. I pushed the body off the chair, sat down, and started to drink and eat. The whole tavern was staring at us, hanging on every word. All right. Let's just pretend you didn't see any dead bodies and don't understand anything. I tolerated them. You all saw it, but they got too brazen. So this is how it is. Whispers started, and then people went back to their business, occasionally glancing our way. And I would have been staring too. He killed them in seconds. The only thing the dead men managed to do was jump to their feet. The last one was dead before he hit the ground. The front door opened and the sorcerer walked in. All right, I'll go first. You follow me, warrior. You bring up the rear. Let's go. What if they see us? Let's go. I've already thought about that for you. It's my problem. And so, slipping through the passage in the wall, we really went. And how we went. The streets were empty, almost no one. We walked and no one paid us any mind, as if they didn't see us, as if... I was convinced of this when we walked right past guards who looked straight through us. Whoa, quiet. They can't see us, but they can hear us perfectly, so be quiet. And just like that, we reached the stone chambers and went inside. Okay, the sorcerer said, lighting a torch. Him to the money, me to the secrets. Once you've led me there, I'll give you another potion and you can do whatever you want. All right, let's go. I took the torch from him and led them through the dark corridors. The easiest way was to get to the place where the gold was kept. The prince really did keep it in the same place as his throne, which was convenient for settling matters on the spot. It was where he celebrated, where he basically lived. He only slept elsewhere. After we led the warrior there, we moved on to the secrets. The prince has a library. He's a simple brute. I've never even heard of him reading. He rarely even reads missives himself. A scribe does it. But he goes to the library twice a week for almost the whole day. I followed him once. There's a false wall there. You can pass through it. That's a clever trick you figured out, the sorcerer said. And 10 minutes later, we were there. That's it. Here's your potion. You have a dagger. This is where we part ways. You'll get your revenge, I'll get my power, and the warrior will get his money. So, farewell. Wait, what? What about getting back? Getting back is everyone for themselves. I said I would lead you here, not out. So it's every man for himself. But since you're a peasant, I'll help you with some advice. The potion doesn't last very long, so when you kill who you need to, try to run back through the passage. In theory, if you hurry, you should make it. Just don't fall into a frenzy, that's all. And now, farewell." The sorcerer pulled the false wall and went down into a cave that was enormous and stretched deep underground.
There it is! There it is! It can't be! Infinite power! So that's why the city stands. That's why they can't buy it or conquer it. A devilish power is hidden here.
I stood there whispering this aloud, forgetting all caution. A book lay in the middle of the huge cave. It emanated such might and power that even with the naked eye you could see space distorting around it. With an artifact like this, I'll push any horizon. This is just infinite power, a source of power that can't be exhausted. A well, basically. I took 2 steps, something snapped, and the cave began to collapse, destroying both the artifact and the sorcerer who wanted to possess it. A little later, when the city was burning and the rubble was cleared, they wouldn't find the artifact. Only the corpse of the sorcerer with a frozen look of astonishment on his face. I made it. It was a damn long time. Half a year. Place the stone. I was standing in the middle of a desert, in the unbearable heat. Amidst it all stood a gruesome creature. In one hand it held a sword, and in the other, something like a plate. I placed the stone. It was absorbed as if it were moisture. A second later, the statue began to crumble, and before me stood a demon guide who had led a strange man from afar who needed something in the middle of the desert. A little later, I found him dead, headless.
I cut down everyone I wanted. No one escaped my hatred that night. The miracle potion allowed me to perform wonders. I was agile, cunning, and deadly. When I was finished, high on euphoria, I ran forward, back towards the passage. He didn't make it that day. The potion wore off, and the entire city guard was on high alert. Before he died, he collected so many arrows with his body. Later, he would be recorded in the annals as the city butcher. Every story, like the night, has its time and comes to an end. The campfire dies down, the sun rises. The nightmares that stretch like shadows from other worlds retreat to where they came from. The old pilgrim, having told us his story, thanks us for our hospitality and leaves. For each of us has our own path, and each of us has our own adventure.